It's getting late. You kids should go home.
We know, but we're waiting.
All right, stay dry.
Papa, please, we're so hungry. Just 200 naira for bread. 6 pairs of eyes stared through the rain-streaked window of the provision shop. Inside, their father counted bills with calloused fingers. 847,000 naira accumulated over 2 decades of denial. Okonkwo locked the door without a word. He watched his children's thin silhouettes disappear into the rain, their footsteps splashing through puddles they were too weak to avoid. That night, the youngest child stopped breathing. Okonkwo owned the most prosperous shop in Yumuza village. At 52, he was known as a shrewd businessman. Every night, he performed the same ritual, counting his fortune. Cash wrapped in plastic bags, stuffed inside paint cans, sewn between mattress layers, buried in metal containers beneath the earth. 20 years of accumulation. 847,000 naira. His wife, Ajora, bore the weight of their poverty at 40, though her body suggested 60. Her cloth wrapper, faded to near transparency, held together by hope in 3 strategic knots where the fabric had split. Wire bound her broken slippers. Dawn found her awake at 4 a.m., sweeping the compound, hauling water from the distant stream, calculating impossible mathematics. How to feed 6 children with nothing. "Mama, my stomach hurts." 7-year-old Chidara's whisper cut through Tuesday's humid morning air. Ajora's chest tightened, the familiar sensation that arrived with each sunrise. "Wait, my daughter, I'll find something." She approached her husband's shop, where Okonkwo arranged new inventory with precision. Bottles of Coca-Cola, Fanta, Sprite, cartons stacked in perfect columns, each bottle worth 50 naira. "Husband, the children haven't eaten. Could you spare 200 naira for rice?" Okonkwo didn't lift his eyes from his work. "There's no money available." "But you just stocked all these drinks." "That's business capital, not household money. Those children need to learn contentment. What do they expect? A lifestyle we cannot afford." Ajora turned away, her eyes dry. 20 years had exhausted her tears. 2 decades of marriage, of pleading, of watching her children diminish while their father's wealth expanded uselessly. She discovered 35 naira in a forgotten purse corner. At the market, she purchased the smallest quantity of gari available. That evening, 6 children hunched over a single pot of gari mixed with water. No palm oil, no salt, no soup, just cassava flour and water. 14-year-old Emeka, the eldest, pushed his portion toward his younger siblings. "I already ate, Mama. Give mine to the little ones." But Adiora noticed his trembling hands. She recognized starvation when she saw it. At the village square that evening, women gathered beneath the ancient Iroko tree. "Have you seen Okonkwo's children lately?" "Ah, those poor souls, suffering in plain sight. That man's shop overflows with goods, yet his own children walk barefoot." Ajora must have the strength of 10 women. Any other wife would have fled. "Strength, look closely, she's fatting before our eyes, thin as a broom handle." That night, 12-year-old Amara curled into a ball, clutching her cramping stomach. She buried her face in her mat to muffle her cries. She couldn't bear to add to her mother's burdens. In the adjacent room, Okonkwo recounted his money, 847,000 naira exactly. He smiled with satisfaction and slept peacefully. Outside, his children starved. Wednesday morning delivered another blow. The school administrator sent Chukwu home with a message. "Your PTA fees, 5,000 naira, must be paid by Friday or don't return." Chukwu trudged 5 kilometers home, his school uniform torn at the shoulder, his textbook bound with scavenged rubber bands. Other students mocked him. He endured it silently. He found his mother hand-washing clothes in a bucket. No soap left, just water and determination. "Mama, the teacher says Papa must pay 5,000 naira, or they'll expel me." Ajora sank to the ground. 5,000 for Chukwu alone, but 6 children needed fees, textbooks, uniforms. The arithmetic crushed her. She made her way back to Okonkwo's shop. "Husband, Chukwu faces expulsion Friday. He needs 5,000 naira for school fees. Okonkwo's palms struck the counter. 5,000 naira for what purpose? To fill his head with useless information? I never attended university, observe my success. That boy should learn a trade. Formal education wastes money. But he's gifted. His teachers say he has exceptional potential. I said no, stop this harassment. Ajora departed, a single tear finally escaping after all these years. That afternoon, 4-year-old Obiagely collapsed with fever. Her small frame radiated heat. She couldn't eat, couldn't play, just lay motionless on the mat, whimpering weakly. Mama, everything hurts. Ajora pressed her palm against her daughter's forehead, dangerously hot. The clinic charged 500 naira. She searched frantically under mats, inside old pots, through wrapper folds. Total found, 85 naira. She returned to Okonkwo, her third visit that day. Obiagely is seriously ill. High fever. I need 500 naira for the clinic. Okonkwo regarded his youngest daughter, limp in her mother's arms. Something stirred within him, perhaps concern, but then his thoughts returned to his savings. 847,000 naira. If he kept spending, it would vanish. Use traditional herbs. Our ancestors didn't need clinics and they survived. These children are too soft. Ajora begged bitter leaf from a neighbor. She boiled it, but Obiagely was too weak to swallow. That evening, the village gathered for a community meeting. Okonkwo sat prominently in the front row, having donated 200 naira toward renovating the village hall. Everyone applauded his generosity. After his departure, whispers circulated. 200 naira for the hall, but his children go hungry. That man's heart is granite. God sees everything. Friday arrived. Chukwu remained home, staring at his textbooks. Ajora watched her brilliant son, top of his class, lose his future over 5,000 naira. That evening, she spent her final 50 naira on rice. She cooked it with only salt and water. 6 children shared the pot, 4 spoonfuls each. Obviously deteriorated, growing weaker by the hour. Sunday morning found the entire village at church. Ajora had risen early to bathe the children in cold water, no money for firewood to heat it. She dressed them in their single set of church clothes, washed and rewashed until nearly transparent. Obiagely had worsened dramatically. Her fever had spiked. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. She could barely open her eyes. Mama, I can't go to church. I'm too tired. Terror seized Ajora's heart. We must go. We'll pray for you. God will heal you. At church, Obiagely sat limply on her mother's lap, her tiny body trembling. Midway through the service, she went completely limp. Obiagely, Obiagely. Ajora's scream shattered the worship. Chaos erupted. People surged forward. Someone ran for water. The pastor began emergency prayers. Okonkwo sat frozen, watching his youngest daughter unconscious in his wife's desperate embrace. She needs a hospital immediately, the pastor commanded. Who has a vehicle? Mr. Ez, the village teacher, sprinted to retrieve his car. They rushed Obiagely to the general hospital, 20 kilometers away. The doctor's examination was swift and his verdict brutal. Severe malaria, complicated by acute malnutrition. This child is severely malnourished. How long has she been ill? 3 days, Ajora sobbed. 3 days, and you're only bringing her now. She could have died. The words struck Okonkwo like physical blows. Could have died. His daughter, his baby, could have died. We must admit her immediately. The total cost will be approximately 15,000 naira for treatment and admission. Okonkwo reached toward his pocket, then froze. 15,000 naira. Too much. His savings. I don't have that kind of money right now. Mr. Ez stepped forward without hesitation. I'll pay. Save the child first. The teacher, earning 35,000 naira monthly with 4 children of his own, paid 15,000 naira to save Okonkwo's daughter. Okonkwo stood there, paralyzed by shame. The entire village witnessed it. The man with the largest shop in Umuza, the man who counted money nightly, standing helpless while a modest teacher rescued his child. They admitted Obiagely, intravenous fluids, medication, actual food. Within hours, her eyes opened. "Papa," she whispered, seeing her father. Okonkwo stared at this fragile child he'd nearly killed. Nearly killed because he'd been too miserly to spend 500 naira. He observed her skeletal arms, her visible ribs, her hollow cheeks. For the first time in 20 years, Okonkwo saw clearly. He saw his wife's exhausted face, his son's torn uniform, his children's perpetually hungry eyes. He saw what his miserliness had wrought. He collapsed beside the hospital bed and wept. Monday morning, Okonkwo didn't open his shop. Instead, he visited every hiding place, retrieving his money, all of it, 847,000 naira, 20 years of hoarding. He brought it home and spread it across the table. Adjora stared in disbelief. She'd never seen such wealth. "This is what I've been accumulating," Okonkwo said, his voice fracturing. "While our children starved, while you suffered, while Obiagely nearly died, I was saving for what? For the future." He laughed bitterly. "I almost destroyed our future trying to save for it." He separated 50,000 naira. "Today we're buying food, real food, meat, rice, everything our family needs." Adjora couldn't speak through her tears. They went to the market together for the first time as true partners. Rice in bulk, beans, yams, cooking oil, tomatoes, onions, and meat. Abundant meat. The children's eyes widened at the sight. "Mama, is this all for us?" Chidera whispered in disbelief. "Yes, my child, all for us." That evening, they feasted on jollof rice with chicken. The children ate until genuinely satisfied, actually full. Some cried while eating, having forgotten what satisfaction felt like. Tuesday, Okonkwo went to the school and paid all fees for all 6 children, 30,000 naira total. The headmaster was stunned. "Okonkwo, is this truly you?" "Yes, and I want to pay for next term as well. My children will never be sent home again." He purchased new uniforms, shoes, books, and bags. When Emeka donned his new uniform, he looked transformed, confident, dignified. Wednesday, Okonkwo took Adjora to the tailor. "Measure her for 6 new wrappers, your finest material. My wife deserves the absolute best." The tailor nearly collapsed from shock. New wrappers, new slippers, new headtie, everything new. Adjora wept in the tailor's shop. 20 years of suffering, and now this. Thursday, Okonkwo visited Mr. Ez home with 25,000 naira. "You saved my daughter when I was too blind to act. This is your money returned, with deep gratitude." Mr. Ez attempted to refuse, but Okonkwo insisted. "Please, let me begin repairing the damage I've caused." Friday evening, Okonkwo called a family meeting. His 6 children sat before him, bellies full for the first time in their lives, wearing new clothes. "I was a terrible father," he stated plainly. "I chose money over you, I was cruel, I was foolish. I nearly killed your sister because of my greed. Can you forgive me?" Chukwu spoke first. "Papa, we forgive you." One by one, his children embraced him. Okonkwo held them and sobbed. These beautiful children, he'd almost destroyed them all. The Okonkwo household had transformed completely. The children thrived, cheeks full, eyes bright, spirits restored. Chukwu had reclaimed his position at the top of his class. Amara had joined the school choir. Little Obiagely ran and played and laughed, completely healed. Adjora looked a decade younger. Her new wrappers were beautiful. Peace had returned to her face. She smiled now, genuine smiles. Okonkwo had changed fundamentally. Every evening, he came home from the shop asking, "What do the children need? What do you need, my wife?" He spent freely on his family. There was always food, always school fees paid in advance, always medicine when needed. The village noticed. The same women who once gossiped now said, "See how Okonkwo has changed. His family is truly blessed now." One evening, the pastor visited. "Okonkwo, people are discussing your transformation. They want to understand what happened." Okonkwo smiled sadly. I nearly lost everything while trying to save everything. I believed money in storage was wealth, but I was actually the poorest man in Umuza. My children were starving. My wife was dying. My family was broken. What value is 847,000 naira compared to my daughter's life? What is money compared to my children's future? The pastor nodded thoughtfully. And now I understand the truth, Okonkwo continued. The richest man isn't the one with the largest bank account. The richest man is the one whose children sleep with full bellies, whose wife smiles with joy, whose family is healthy and thriving. He paused, his voice heavy with regret. I spent 20 years accumulating money, but money cannot buy back the years my children suffered. Money cannot erase my wife's pain. Money cannot return the childhood I stole from them. That Sunday, Okonkwo stood before the congregation and testified. I was blind, but now I see. I thought I was wise, but I was actually the greatest fool. Brothers and sisters, don't follow my former path. Don't sacrifice your family on the altar of saving. Don't let your children starve while money sits idle. Don't wait for tragedy to open your eyes. The church fell silent. Many men looked down, convicted by his words. And so the village learned an eternal truth. Money saved for tomorrow is worthless if you destroy your family today. Okonkwo had spent 20 years hoarding wealth for a future he was too blind to see he was destroying. But money cannot purchase back a daughter's health, a son's education, a wife's youth, or children's stolen childhood. The wealthiest man isn't the one with the most money hidden away, but the one whose family thrives, feels loved, and receives proper care. For what is wealth if your children cry from hunger? What is security if your family is broken? What profit exists in saving everything while losing the very people you're saving for? In the end, Okonkwo learned what his money could never teach him. True wealth is measured not by what you keep, but by what you give to those you love.